12:04 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. It's Wednesday, time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. And let's get things underway with your host of Helping Seniors of Brevard and the executive director of the organization, Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you for the festive music as we make our way into today's lunchtime gathering for the Helping Seniors radio show. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon, we gather around the radio here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, and also a greeting to all the folks who enjoy the show online at wejf.net. And, of course, if you're hearing this show later, we want to welcome you as well. There's a growing number of folks who find the podcast version of this, which we put out on Facebook and YouTube, all at Helping Seniors of Brevard, and even on the Helping Seniors website, which is helpingseniors.brevard.org. And we titled today's show, Good Things to Know for the Holidays, which is a nice kind of a catch-all for some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. We have some great guests with us in the studio. And first, let me introduce to you who comes complete, decked out in festive attire, complete with Santa Claus earrings. It is none other, and she's really an expert. We're going to talk about some good things here, and a good friend of the Helping Seniors organization. She has a company that is dedicated to helping folks. It is called Avid Home Care Services, and I'm talking with Tracy Graf, who herself is a registered nurse. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Kerry. I'm glad to be here.
Good. And again, we're talking about the festive season and all the things going on, and you look like you're ready for it.
I'm sporting it today.
It's good. It's good. So, we were talking as we were leading up to it, and we talked about this a little bit last week, that, this is a different holiday season than we experienced last year, because if you remember, last year nobody was sure if it was okay to go and visit relatives for the holidays, and you didn't know if you were supposed to have one mask or 21 masks or just all the things that we survived through. And I think even at the time, we were trying to think about the vaccinations and all the different things that were moving with all of that. What a difference a year has made.
Yeah, big difference. I think I've definitely noticed that just in general, in encountering people, in seeing new clients, in going places, and maybe it's just here, but we're very free. Meaning, people are not wearing masks anymore. People are getting together. There's been a multitude of Christmas parades, and get-togethers, and parties, and boat parades. So, I guess it seems to all be okay. I mean, they're claiming that we now have herd immunity, and I don't know. I don't think any of us really know. It appears that it's going well. Well, vaccinations are working.
Right. And I think that's the key thing, because I know we talked a lot here on the radio as we went through the year. I remember sharing some statistics that we would see. This was back when the main concern was that Delta variant. You remember how they were a little bit concerned that it might overwhelm the hospitals. Yeah. And I remember seeing all these little graphics, and it was the number of people who were not vaccinated that were making it into the hospital. And I remember a peak number. It may not have been the peak, but I remember seeing it was literally 497 people in Brevard County were hospitalized for COVID that did not have the vaccination. And during that same week, the number of people who were hospitalized with COVID who were fully vaccinated was 14. So that was the extent of the difference. Yeah. So apparently the vaccination makes such a difference. I had a meeting, part of the Brevard Commission of Aging. They were telling us, at least this was last week, that the positivity rate was below 3%, which they considered very good in Brevard County and very helpful. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that they were also explaining at this meeting was now, it's very easy if you want to do the booster and do all that. It's available. The health department is kind of like you don't have to have an appointment. You just show up. And
any place. At any pharmacy. Yeah. I mean, any place. And, another thing that I actually have been pretty impressed by, and I encountered a client. I mean, I walked into their home. It was a current client of ours, and I had gone to check on them. Mm-hmm. I don't remember there was a reason, but he was waiting to hear back. He was actually trying to log in to his patient portal.
Right.
At the time I walked in the house to get his COVID test results. And I'm like, oh, and he's like, you think you can figure out how to get in this thing? He hands me his iPad. He had a mask on, thankfully, but I accepted something that he hadn't accepted, like a statement and like a disclosure, and boom, up comes his result, which was positive.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, okay, so so we called his doctor while I was there.
Right.
You know, they stayed in the living room, and I talked to them from the dining
Sure.
room. We all kept masks on. And I had him go over there to have the monoclonal antibodies.
Right.
And he went and had, I think, 2 treatments.
Uh-huh.
They gave his wife a treatment because she was not positive, but had been living with him.
Been exposed, sure.
And I mean, he felt a little flu-like for a couple days, but I was pretty impressed at how easily they made it for him to go over and get that treatment.
Well, yeah.
How readily available it was, you know, and that it appears to really work. So,
well, that's the thing. That's the thing. And we've come so far. I know it's been a journey, and we've lost a lot of good people along the way. So it hasn't been without quite a price. But you know, the thing is, we're sort of on the backside on 2 levels because we're all vaccinated, but also doctors have now sort of figured out, well, this is how we tackle this. And,
right.
and that makes a big difference because, you know, when they were first telling us, 30 days to stop the spread, I don't think anybody had a real clue about it.
They didn't.
But that's the thing that's so good about this holiday season is now everybody is getting kind of back to normal. Everybody seems anxious to get back to normal and do the things we did. I wanted to actually take a moment and stop down and offer a couple of thank yous. Because last year, there weren't really Christmas events because, nobody was sure what was safe to do or what was recommended to do and all that. But Helping Seniors of Brevard, and those of you that are new to this show or just a refresher, Helping Seniors of Brevard, we're a 501c3. That's a fancy word for a nonprofit. And Joe Steckler, our president and founder, he's a retired Navy captain. His last command in the Navy was he operated the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi. And I think that gave him kind of a lifelong empathy for seniors. In fact, his birthday is this month. He's going to be turning 88. And so Joe is one of those guys who is just unstoppable. He is serious about advocating for seniors and all that. And he founded, not only did he create, they call them the Joe's Clubs to this day, he got all that set up with the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And literally 11 years ago now, he founded the Helping Seniors of Brevard organization, which he's still the president of and chairman of the board. And we all work together with Joe and try to help get education and information in the hands of seniors here in Brevard County because we have so many people moving into the area. But as a nonprofit, our main service to the community is we have what we call a senior information helpline. That's a free call at 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770. And Nancy Deerdorf, who herself, like you, Tracy, has a background registered nurse and has done all that in her career, but she's at a point where she's really helping us as our operations director, but she's the person that is handling the phones and taking those calls as they come in. And so since 2011, we've helped more than 4,000 families absolutely free of charge. And then we do so much. It's why we do the radio show, the TV shows. We publish Center Section in Senior Scene magazine. What we're all about is getting information in the hands of people so that they can make the best aging plan. Well, this Christmas time, we have had the blessing of being honored by 2 different organizations who they select worthy charities each year as they get toward the end of the year, and then award them some grant money. And that has really been a blessing. In one case, want to really give a very serious thank you to our friends at the Brevard Association of Human Services. They call it BAHS for short, BAHS. But it's a group of people who all work together to just make life better for people in Brevard County. So a lot of the focus is seniors, but it's really for everybody in the community. And they picked Helping Seniors of Brevard as one of their charities that they wanted to support in this year, and they gave us a $1,000 grant. So we are very, very appreciative for their help. And then yesterday, we had the privilege of sitting with longtime a good friend of ours from the Helping Seniors organization. He's board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson. He heads up, he's president again this year for the Florida State Guardianship Association and the Space Coast chapter of it. So they meet locally here once a month, and they're concerned with getting good education for the membership so that they're doing the best that they can for the people that they're responsible for. And they do the same thing. They get together at the holiday time, select charities that they feel are worthy to support, and proud to say and pleased to say and grateful to say that they also picked Helping Seniors, and we were awarded a $300 grant from them. So I guess it's nice when people recognize the work that Helping Seniors is doing and the importance of that. And I was thinking about that, Tracy, as we're going into the start of a new year. The number of people who are moving to Florida is absolutely like off the chart, right? I mean, it's like you turn around and somebody new is moving to Florida, and then also somebody is coming into Florida, or they're coming into seniorship. So how, you look at just we call it the age wave, but the number of people who are turning 65, which by anyone's stretch of definition of a senior makes that, and 1 in 4 of us here in Brevard are already that. But if you want to back up and use the AARP definition, then that is actually 1 in 2 people. Almost 50% of Brevard County is over the age of 50, which is what AARP defines as a senior. So I just want to get your reaction to all that, because you have to see your business expanding with the number of seniors and people coming into this area.
I do. I just have to get past that you said that being over 50 is a senior.
Isn't that? Well, that's a wake-up call, right? People get offended when they get that card from...
I'm only 51, but yeah.
People get offended when they get that card from AARP in the mail, right?
I'm getting there.
But it's your reward for having lots of birthdays.
Yeah, right. I guess any discount is better than no discount, right?
Yeah.
So whatever.
Absolutely.
But Barbara, hi.
Yeah, we're welcoming. Hi. By the way, we're welcoming Barbara McIntyre, longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization too, who's also on the show with us today, and she is our reverse mortgage expert. Great friend of the organization, has been helping Joe and the rest of us for years and years and years. How you doing?
Now it sounds like I'm like 100 instead.
No. We're
years and years and years. There are advantages to hitting the 50 mark and the getting the AARP discounts and senior citizens discounts at the movies.
Hey, so I'm not proud. I take them all.
Why not?
I haven't utilized any yet.
Well, there are definitely some benefits.
So our topic today, as we're talking, as we're having a good time at getting toward the holidays, Tracy Graf, who is the owner of Avid Home Care Services, and Barbara McIntyre, who is a reverse mortgage funding expert, and we're just talking about great things to know for the holidays. So where we've been sort of on our journey so far is we've talked about that we're running into Christmas kind of a little bit more like we remember it, as opposed to what we all went through last year. But one of the topics that I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about, because this has been like a recurring theme. So one of the advantages when you have home care, right, is that you have somebody checking on mom or dad or aunt or uncle or whoever that loved one is on a fairly regular basis. And I know that COVID made it particularly difficult for families that maybe they live out of state and they would come every so often and check in and see how mom and dad are. But we were talking with one of the elder law attorneys who actually sits on the board with Helping Seniors. Her name is Ruth Rhodes. And we actually did a show early on, and what she was imploring, she said, now that you're actually able to come into people's homes, and you may be flying in or you may be driving in from another part of the state, or however you're getting to see mom or dad, make sure that you're kind of checking, because it could have been 2 years since you were in there, and you want to make sure that they're safe. And I just kind of wanted to maybe start with you, Tracy, since you're the registered nurse. You've got this whole background. You understand how important it is to keep our seniors safe.
Right.
So I would say definitely that, we get, I think, an influx of phone calls every holiday season when families do start to travel here. And many times it is adult children saying, I didn't really know that this was the situation, or, when I talk to my mom on the phone every day, she seems pretty clear, but now that I'm kind of here, I'm seeing things aren't quite exactly how they seem. So it's very common for us to get those kind of calls, and for them to want me to come and talk to them before they leave, for whatever time they're here. I have no problem doing that ever. We have no problem doing that, to talk to them. But I was also going to say that, while we all talk about everybody who has family, and there are a surprisingly large amount of people who have no one.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Good point.
No one.
Yeah.
Not any children, not any nieces, not any nephews, not any siblings or parents. No one. And they're sad. They're sad. They're sad people, and they are. I used to say home care was especially heartbreaking around the holidays.
Wow.
And I mean, look, when I worked for the transplant program, that was heartbreaking around the holidays too, because people were dying. But this was a different kind of heartbreaking, because it was ongoing, and there was really no resolution to it. And a lot of them just counted the days to get through the holidays, and prayed for them to get over.
Yeah, I know you've done a lot of articles in the past where you've talked about depression among seniors, because
suicide rates are crazy high during this time of year.
That's part of your background, and it's a thing that we were having this conversation internally inside the Helping Seniors organization. Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, she actually joined. She's been a board member with Joe going back pre-Helping Seniors, and has always been just a great blessing in the organization. But she actually said, no, I've got some time and I can come on and help you guys full time. So she started in November, and the phones were a bit light in November. Well, that has changed in December. Yeah. She get call after call, and just as you're describing, they are very, very complex, difficult situations. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit too, Barb. Your experience. You're out in the community. You're meeting a lot of people. You're most of the time, in that role, you're meeting them in terms of reverse mortgages and things like that. But what are you seeing?
I really talk to more people on the phone these days than I'm out in the community. I don't do as much external marketing as I used to do. I really respond to people calling me more by referral, and so much more of what I'm doing is information giving when I'm asked. To be perfectly honest, I'm kind of paring back a little bit. I have an associate that works with me now,
right,
and she's really the one that's kind of out there more. But what really came to mind when you were talking about senior depression and the loneliness, what popped into my mind so strongly is the Meals on Wheels organization.
They don't work on holidays.
Yeah, they don't deliver on us on necessarily. They still are doing through the holidays, the daily
but Christmas
deliveries.
Day,
right?
I've already experienced trying to get clients Christmas or Thanksgiving Day dinners, and it's very difficult.
Right. Wow. And I just think that's really important for, even church organizations to know that, to be aware that they can maybe fill in there. Or I know my company is a national sponsor. And so they've had this big program where they had a card writing program where everybody made cards, and then they sent them to chapters of Meals on Wheels so that they could be taken out with, and handed to people. But you're right. It's so difficult when people are just without family entirely.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know how to really, besides just being aware that the person living next door may be alone, and then taking that step to reach out to the person, that may be alone next door. I think so many people are not, they don't tend to pay as much attention. I hope that people do that more so now.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I agree that if there's any time of year that it
is
aware
now. It is this time. You're
that
right.
Someone that lives near you or someone that is alone.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest not even really asking them, just
going.
Just either delivering them. And that doesn't even have to be a meal. I mean, it could be something as simple as go and put up a small Christmas tree.
We have so many,
anything.
So many local
Cookies.
Organizations are taking donations of toiletries and making little gift bags of just little nice things to give to people living in
It's the
nursing
gesture.
homes, and
It's the gesture.
yeah,
It's not.
It really is. It
and
really
people
is.
won't ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Even if you say to them, "What can I do? Can I do something? Can I bring you something?" I would say 8 out of 10 of my clients who would be alone would say, "No, don't bother."
Right. It's a heroic generation, and they.
it is.
Yeah.
And it's not.
That's
and
why
I
you
think,
don't ask; you just do it.
I think since COVID, it's not even that oldest generation. I think it's even many of the baby boomer generation that has found themselves, maybe have lost husbands or wives, and find themselves, their children now live in other places in the country, and so one of the spouses is left alone, and if the kids aren't coming home.
Well,
Yeah.
we've talked about this a lot. Joe started a program earlier this year, which he called Stay Connected, because, when we did we've done surveys of the senior population here in Brevard County, and we've asked, what are the biggest needs that you have? And of course, you will hear medical, transportation, housing, and things. Those are definitely up at the top of the list. But the thing is probably less surprising to you, but I know the first time I saw it, it was surprising to me how far up the list it was. It was social interaction. That was a thing that seniors reported that they wanted to have more social interaction. And at the first thing you would think, well, that's kind of easy. If you want, if you want to have a friend, be a friend. But if you have limitations, you can't get out the way you want to. COVID made that beyond crazy, right? So there's that whole aspect for everybody this year. And so Joe's answer to that was, everybody just stay connected. We get calls, a lot of times it's from a senior themselves, but a lot of times it's from an adult child of a senior. But also a lot of times it's from the person who says, there's this lady who lives 2 doors down from me, and I'm really concerned. The grass has grown up. I don't see her getting out the way she needs to.
Yeah.
Does she have stuff to eat? I don't know. And so the whole point, what you guys are talking about, is staying connected so that we're looking out a little bit after each other.
Right.
And I
Absolutely
can
true.
say, I don't know about others, but I can say for absolute 100% certainty that if you're a client of Avid and you're going to be alone on the holidays, someone is going to come visit.
Wow.
That's great.
Well,
That's
we're
wonderful.
we have to. I can't not, even if they told me they don't need it, but if word gets to me through the grapevine, through the people who are working in their home, that, hey, they're going to be, because my staff will come and say to me, hey, do you know they're going to be alone?
Wow.
Nobody.
Right.
And
That's
many
wonderful,
times I already
Tracy.
find out that the staff has offered to bring a meal or, bring dessert or something. But if they can't for some reason, they will reach out to me and say, because my staff knows I can't have that. I can't have that.
Oh yeah, that's
Even
huge.
if it was taking time out of my own Christmas day, very honestly, I would do that because I cannot have someone be alone on the holiday.
So important.
Yeah.
Tracy Graf with Avid Home Care Services and Barbara McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage. We're going to take a mid-show break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about why you two guys are on the show together, because one really can make it possible for the other to happen. So we'll be right back with the second half of Helping Seniors Radio.
Once again, here's the Executive Director and host of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you again, and welcome back for the second half of our Wednesday lunchtime gathering here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. And boy, everybody is decked out and festive. During the first half of the show, we were talking about our guest,
I've got
Tracy.
my Santa earrings.
Yes, Tracy Graf with Avid Home Care Services.
Barbara's got her Christmas
you
balls.
you guys have you're dressed in red. You have the earrings that work, and Barbara McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding even has a Santa Claus. And of course, for Kerry and John and Jim, we're all dressed up in our Santa Claus suits, and we can get away with that because this is radio, so they will they will accept that. No, we're having a good time, and we're actually talking about good things to know for the holidays. And so I do want to take a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit about how your two organizations do have a real important place that they kind of crisscross in purpose. And I want to start first with Tracy Graf with Avid Home Care Services. If somebody has been hearing us talk about this, I want people to understand what you guys are able to do, how you help families, and then how they get in touch with you.
Yeah, we're definitely unique in the fact that we can be very flexible and creative with scheduling. Mm-hmm. And, I joke sometimes with clients and say I can make your money go farther than anybody, which is important because, we really do have a huge amount of respect and understanding that most people can't afford these kind of services.
Right.
That was part of the whole basis when Avid was started, was to basically be delivering quality care for a reasonable price.
Right.
And we've continued that. But sometimes it just takes being a little creative with scheduling and maybe doing things differently than other agencies would be willing to do it. And we will do all that. Wow. We have people who sometimes check on people first thing in the morning and then again at night. And, my staff may want to kill me, but when I say it on the radio, but sometimes it's just 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night. And sometimes it's the same person. Sometimes it's a different person. But, the point is that someone who can't afford long shifts or long hours is still getting that twice a day check-in. Mm-hmm. Have you eaten? Have you showered? Have you gone to the bathroom? Have you taken your medication? Are there any problems? Things like that. So, even that can be something that will extend someone's ability to stay in their home.
Right.
And so we're very good at being very creative and flexible with that. And we've absolutely no hourly minimum and no. I find some other agencies are now telling people that, well, we will do an hour or two visit, but it has to be 3 times a week and things like. We don't do that. We literally have some clients who use us as needed, and that's okay. I mean, we are there for what they need, and we will always do our best to try to meet that need without having them spending money on other things that they don't need. Because I've said before, I take every client on like a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, that's the only way to do it.
Right.
Their needs will change as time moves on or things happen. And I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to roll with those changes and stick with them. And that's tends to be how we're very successful that way.
I agree. That's how I've always treated my business too. In reverse mortgages, people can start to plan for their retirement. If they're smart, they'll start to plan with looking at reverse mortgage as part of a financial tool really early, maybe 62. And nowadays you can even start earlier. But regardless, long before they possibly need it, they start looking at it. And I always say, once you're my client, you're mine for life. So that relationship does start to build. And over time, I have people call me years later and say, I have a question about this. Who do you know? And I think it's real important that you're building trust relationship all along. And the same with you, Tracy, the care, the needs that people have as they're aging does change.
Right.
And as they have bigger needs, sometimes they do need, and this is where my product may fit into play, is that they might need more care than they can afford. And so the use of home equity is a perfect way to be able to access dollars, to be able to write a check to get the care they need. So one of the first questions when I'm talking to someone who's looking at placing home equity in a position to be able to tap into is, do you see yourself staying and aging in place? Or do you see yourself possibly moving into a assisted living facility? And if they say, oh, I think I'm going to assisted living, I'm looking forward to someone cooking for me one day, and I'm going to sell my house and take the money I get from that and pay the Fountains their fee year after year and live there, terrific, good choice. But mostly people will say to me, I have no intention of leaving my home. I'm going out of here toes up.
Right.
And then it's like, that's your choice. So let's talk about how you're going to stay. And then we look at Is it safe? Do you need to do something to your bathroom so that you don't have to step into a tub? Maybe have a home construction company come and put in one of those tub showers. You open a little door and step in and close it and you're safe. Do you need grab bars? Do you need Tracy to come and have her staff come and do checks to make sure that you're having everything you need and that you're safe? And use the house you paid for to pay for the services you need to age in place. And so, it makes perfect sense that unless you have buckets of money sitting somewhere else, that you let the house go ahead and pay you to be safe living in it in your retirement. And that's how our products fit together like a glove.
Yep.
I think you said that so well, Barbara McIntyre with reverse mortgage funding, because I think that's one of the things that people don't necessarily understand. Joe talks a lot about, Joe Steckler, I'm talking about, our president and founder, and he always talks about the need that people have to put together an aging plan. Mm-hmm. And this is different. They talk to us about a retirement plan. They say, well, do you have your 401k? How are you going to take your Social Security? How are you going to set this up for your retirement? And obviously, one of the financial components of your retirement very well could be taking a look at the equity that's built up in your home over these years. But one of the mistakes that most of us don't get, and this is what Joe is honing in on when he talks about aging plan, he's not just talking about the financial aspect. He's talking about those things that as we age, things may shift. We may not be able to be as mobile as we want to be. Right. We may not be as steady as we hope we would be. All those kind of things come into play. We may run into a medical condition that needs a certain level of treatment that goes beyond what we've experienced before.
Right. They say now if you open just about any senior publication and it starts to talk about what we're going to be facing as we age, the biggest expenses are going to have to do with medical care.
Sure.
And, it's going to continue to be the largest single expense that all of us will be facing as we age. So that's what, the use to assume that just the money you have in your retirement bank account, your 401k or your stock portfolio is going to really make it to your end of life if you live to be 90 plus years old, which they're also determining our length of life is extending. We don't know. So that's where adding your house to that big pot of asset that could be there for your use in the future is just smart.
Right. And that was actually going to be my point, because so many of us assume that the kind of help that we might need at home, that's covered by insurance. And the answer is that's
Wrong.
not how
Right.
that's not how that works. And most of us don't have. That's why Joe is so strong about having us think about this aging plan, because we have to understand that there are certain things that your Medicare may pay for, but there's a huge amount of things that they don't pay for, and that you are the one that has to figure out how that part of it works. And Tracy, I wanted to ask you, like the services that you provide, they're so important for people, and yet that's part of your job is trying to manage to work it within the resources that somebody has.
Yeah, I think I'm at a huge advantage because I did skilled nursing home care, Medicare home care here for several agencies when I first moved here.
Uh-huh.
So, I've learned a lot of the local resources that are available, and I can, I can walk into and I do frequently will walk into a client's home and see, okay, I know you called us here, and we can definitely help, but you may also benefit from, say, skilled nursing services that is paid for by Medicare, or physical therapy that would be paid for by Medicare, or hospice. Mm-hmm. I partner very frequently with hospice who, are no longer about the last 12 weeks of your life.
Right.
They have more people with chronic conditions on their patient rosters nowadays than cancer, and they can be a great resource for people who, have one of these chronic conditions like congestive heart failure and things that they don't want to go back and forth to the hospital all the time for every little thing. Hospice can be a great partnering agency and resource with me, where, with our agency, where our people do what we always do. And with the hospice, they get the support of a nurse or a nurse practitioner. The other benefits to hospice, they have a chaplain, they have social workers. So there's other resources that are valuable coming from them. But
Tracy, you're a gold mine. I mean, people need to understand that they really need, seriously, they really need to reach out to you, because you are a gold mine for being able to put them in the right place to take advantage of all those resources.
I love being a nurse.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say. I just love being a nurse.
Yeah.
and I love helping people.
Be able to go in and be such a problem solver for such a huge need.
Yes.
That's how I feel about what I do.
Correct. It feels good.
When I solve
feels like you accomplished something.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Doesn't
You've
it feel
accomplished
good?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does. It does feel good.
It really does.
Well, that's why both of you guys are very special people, and that's actually the spirit that Joe has always fostered inside of helping seniors Brevard.
He has. He knows how to pick them.
We need the partnership with people who they understand there's a business aspect of what's going on, because we all get a light bill from Florida Power, so that
But still,
but we've got to look after the seniors and do all of this the right way.
I met with a client just yesterday or on Monday that it was a long visit, very talkative, very lovely couple. But they still were unsure, so they signed up. I'm waiting. I'll wait to hear from them. If I don't hear from them, that's fine. But I said to them on the way out, they have moved here from Brevard County. They had a lot of questions. She's got medical problems. And I said to them on the way out, listen, honestly, if you need a question answered, call me.
Yeah.
I'm always a nurse first, is how I like to.
Wow.
That's how I feel about it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a nurse first. I'm a business person second, but I am always a nurse first. And everyone who knows me knows that, which is why, like Barbara, I get calls from people who, saved my cell phone from 5 years ago. And do you remember when you said I could call you anytime? Not really.
Well,
Here we are.
And I've seen over the years Barbara McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding doing the same thing. It's like, people will call you for advice because they realize they can trust you. You're not just going to, it's the difference between you see this commercial, some guy on TV saying, oh, you need to get a reverse mortgage, and they make it sound great, but you don't know any of the details. Right. And people then end up turning around and calling Barb McIntyre because they go, I'm going to get the real deal. Is this going to help me, or how's this going to actually work?
I'm always so flattered when somebody talks to me, and it takes a while sometimes to sift through what they're really asking me, especially when they're quite elderly. And if they have an accent, it's really tricky. But you do have to be a bit of a detective. And then when you get to the end of it, you can say to them, oh, no, you don't need to be worried. It's all good. And you re-explain something they've misunderstood. And then they go, really? And you say, yes, just as long as you pay your taxes and insurance, you are fine. And they go, oh, wow. What do I owe you for this? And I say,
Nothing.
Oh, not a thing. It's just my pleasure. Just seeing how relieved you are is all I ever would want.
Yep.
And then they say, I'm going to go pour myself a big glass of wine when we hang up. That happened this week. I love it.
Well, and see, this is really the point. They say this is the time of year for giving, and you guys are giving with your time. Yeah. But let's talk about Tracy Graf with Avid Home Care Services. If somebody wants to give you a call and say, well, here's what's going on, we're trying to figure out, because I think most of us don't really know enough. When Joe talks about us needing to make an aging plan, he's really talking to all of us, because this is a thing. We live in Florida. We get a hurricane plan, right? We understand that. But this is something we just put off and put off and put off.
Yes, they do.
And then we let it get to a point where it's a crisis.
And then somebody ends up in the hospital. That's what I was going to say. And now all of a sudden, it's a crisis. And they want to start fast, and they want to, so I just call us. Our phone number is 321-392-3400. We're available all the time. Call us within... My son, I'm sure, is listening. He's cringing like, oh no, because he mans the phones most of the time. Our son is our scheduler. But so you'll either get him and he can get me, or you'll get me, either one of us. But call if you have just a question, or you're just trying to figure out what you would do in the situation that this would happen. What would this look like? What kind of rates, what hours, what does this look like? If you have no idea, call us. We have no problem answering all those questions.
And so we're talking with Tracy Graf, Avid Home Care Services. Give us that number one more time.
321-392-3400.
And let's also stop down and give people a chance to write down Barbara McIntyre's phone number. Barbara is Reverse Mortgage Funding, and you have literally led the way. I love to tell this story on Joe, because Joe is Joe Steckler. Again, I'm talking about our president and founder. You know, he can be a tough nut to crack, because he wants to make sure that what you are doing is really benefiting seniors. That is 100% what he's about. And I remember, Barb McIntyre, when you first met Joe, you really had to. He put you through the barrel to make sure that this is legit.
And not just one time. I had to do it a few times to finally get him to really say, okay, she's told me that same truth more than once. So the consistency of the story, it must really be true. So
so here we are years later, and you guys have helped so many people. Yes. But how do people get in touch with you?
Anytime, call 321-259-7880. That's 321-259-7880. And real quickly, I do want to say a couple new things with the product. This year, as of January 1, the lending limit for the FHA home equity conversion mortgage has been increased now to $970,800. So that means that a home that's valued at that high number will now be able to obtain a percentage of that to be lent.
Wow.
They don't lend $970,000, but they will lend up to a percentage of that. So where we often would have to use what we would call a jumbo size loan, because we used to have county lending limits, and there was a time when the county lending limit in Brevard County was like $185,000.
Oh, wow.
So over the years, the lending limit has become a national lending limit, and it has been continued to be raised over the years, and now the national limit is $970,800. And the second piece of news, which is even better, is that every October the government, FHA supplies a accounting of the health of the mortgage insurance fund, which is what guarantees the borrowers and the lenders of the FHA products. And this year it has proven to be fully sustainable. It requires no taxpayer subsidy of any fashion, and so it is extremely healthy, which means there could be, just could be, a likelihood of possibly getting some relief in how much mortgage insurance premium is going to be collected in the future going in to the fund per loan. We might see some positive changes. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but when the insurance fund gets healthy enough that it's really being supported by only the people using this mortgage, then sometimes the FHA revisits, can we lend a little more? Can we reduce further some of the costs? So that's some new news that's very positive for the program.
And that's exciting stuff.
I'll say so.
So we did a show not too long ago, Barbara McIntyre, with Reverse Mortgage Funding, where we were talking about this could be the perfect moment for reverse mortgage because property values are very high, and so that's a benefit. Interest rates we talked about being very low is also another good benefit to you when you're looking at this. And so for all those different reasons, we were saying this really could be the right time to take a look at it.
It really still is. And, we're talking a lot about using the product for home health care, but there are so many uses. Just paying off an existing mortgage. If you're trying to make a mortgage payment month after month, and you can use a reverse mortgage to eliminate that existing mortgage and the obligation of a principal and interest payment going forward, you are actually going to be increasing your budget by eliminating the need or necessity to make the principal and interest payment. So you're going to be improving your cash flow. If you are tied, if you have spent, here we go, Christmas, if you overspend at Christmas and find that you've got credit card debt at high interest rates of 12 and and that's sometimes considered low. I mean, some credit
12,
cards
I was
are
gonna say it's 32,
20, yeah.
29%.
If you've got high interest rate credit cards, get rid of them. You can consolidate those. You can pay them off with a reverse mortgage. And now we have proprietary, which means it's a conventional reverse mortgage. It acts like a home equity line of credit that a bank would offer. So it only is pretty much a 10-year mortgage that has costs that are so low. And it is something that will allow you to pay off debt to qualify. So the product is continuing to morph, be more consumer friendly, give you more and more options, and information is power, and I like to give it. So give me a call.
And what's that number again? Barbara McIntyre.
321-259-7880.
That could very well be a great Christmas present you give yourself,
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
it's true.
Yeah. And how about you, Tracy? You know, as we all sit down and we make planning for the new year. We say, okay, this is the year I'm going to do this part better. I realize the years are adding up. I need to get a little bit of help at home. That could also be a great time to get things started. How do people get in touch with you one more time with the phone number and all?
321-392-3400. And I was going to say, a common scenario that I think works out well for a lot of people are when people are in rehab. Mm-hmm. They go to the hospital, they go to rehab. We get calls from family before the client is discharged is really the best time to talk about it.
Right.
And, I do all my own client admissions because I love that part of home care.
Right.
So I'll gladly come to the rehab and meet with the family, meet with the client, talk about, because I know discharge planning talks to them about the services, but they always come out confused about what's paid for by insurance and what's not.
We have no idea.
And exactly. And I mean, I know they're told, I know they're taught, but they just don't retain it and they become overwhelmed. So sometimes just hearing that information from a second source like myself who comes in and says, I know they're talking to you, they're going to set you up with skilled nursing home care, and these are the parts that are going to be paid for by Medicare. And then the non-skilled home care is what we can do, and we can sort of fill in the gaps around the other one. But I'm more than happy to come in and talk to them about that so that those services are coordinated and ready to go when they come home.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about good things to know for the holidays, and we're going to wrap it up for today. But one last time, so we're going to start with Tracy Graf, Avid Home Care Services. Take advantage. Find out how you could have a much better 2022 with a little bit of help. What's that number?
321-392-3400.
And for Barb McIntyre, we've just been talking up why it makes sense to at least investigate what's going on in the reverse mortgage world. How do we get in touch with you?
321-259-7880.
All right, and we're going to kind of leave it here. We're going to remind you we're in the middle of our annual fund drive, so you're probably going to see a letter or get some sort of a mailing and say, support the work of helping seniors. You'll help make it a great 2022 for seniors when you do that. Visit us at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org or call us at 321-473-7770. On behalf of Joe Steckler, our entire team, we'll see you next week for Helping Seniors Radio.